Welcome to Talk Treatises.
It is good to be back at the table.
Today, we are not just reading a book. We are stepping onto a ledge. We are looking down into an abyss that might just look back at us and laugh.
Mm-hmm.
We are dining on a seminal work of mystical theology, poetic philosophy, and quite frankly, psychological deconstruction.
It is a text that is often quoted at weddings, usually completely out of context, printed on greeting cards, and just fundamentally misunderstood. It's like using a stick of dynamite as a candle holder.
I love that image. We are talking about Kahlil Gibran today.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about the prophet.
No.
Everyone knows the prophet. It's gentle, it's comforting, it's the book you give your aunt for Christmas. Today we are going back to his first work, written in English, published in 1918, The Madman, his parables and poems.
And Madman is really the operative word here. This isn't the Gibran of love one another and your children are not your children. This is Gibran, the iconoclast. This is Gibran with a sledgehammer. This is a treatise on the liberation of the soul, but liberation through a method that I think terrifies most of us, the total destruction of the social self.
The destruction of the ego, is that what we're talking about?
More than the ego, it's the destruction of the mask. The central tension in this entire work is the friction between what he calls the social self, the polite, civilized, understandable person you are at a dinner party, the person who pays taxes and says, fine, thanks, when asked how they are, and the naked soul.
Mm-hmm.
And Gibran argues that the naked soul is the only part of us that is actually real, but it is buried under layers and layers of civilization.
So the thesis we're working with today is pretty radical.
Yeah.
It's the idea that what society diagnoses as madness is actually the only path to spiritual clarity.
Exactly.
That true sanity, according to this text, requires the absolute destruction of the defenses we build to feel safe.
Which poses a really dangerous question for you, the listener, right off the bat. Are you sane because you are healthy and perceiving reality correctly? Or are you sane because you are compliant and participating in a shared delusion?
Ooh, that is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the machinery of this. Our mission for this deep dive is to trace how Gibran reconstructs the relationship between man and God, to analyze the fragmentation of the human psyche, which he was doing way before it was cool in modern psychology, and to explore his savage, and I mean savage, critique of conformity.
Shall we begin at the beginning? The origin story.
We must. The opening piece is titled, How I Became a Madman. And it's such a great subversion of the superhero origin story. It's not a radioactive spider. It's not a tragic murder in an alleyway.
No.
It's a theft.
It is a theft that feels like a violation. The narrator tells us that long before many gods were born, he woke from a deep sleep to find that all his masks were stolen.
The 7 masks I have fashioned and worn in 7 lives. That line.
Exactly. I mean, can you imagine the panic? He wakes up, reaches for his face, and his face is gone, or rather, the face he presents to the world is gone.
Yeah.
He runs into the street, completely maskless, shouting, thieves, thieves, the cursed thieves. He feels exposed. He feels robbed. This is the ultimate nightmare of social exposure. It's that anxiety dream where you show up to school naked, but, elevated to a cosmic level.
But then a shift occurs. And the shift is the inciting incident for the whole philosophy. He reaches the marketplace, the center of public life, and a youth cries out, he's a madman. And the narrator looks up to see who is accusing him.
And this is the moment the text says, the sun kissed my own naked face for the first time.
The sun kissed my own naked face.
That is the theological breakthrough. For the first time, there is no barrier between the source of light, the absolute, the divine, the truth, and the self. The mask is gone. The filter is gone.
And his reaction isn't shame anymore.
Not at all. It shifts instantly to ecstasy. He says, blessed are the thieves who stole my masks.
That is such a paradoxical blessing. Blessed are the thieves. It sounds like a twisted beatitude from the Sermon on the Mount.
It forces us to define what a mask actually is. We usually think of a mask as something used to hide a lie, to be deceptive.
Right.
But Gibran suggests the mask is really a tool of social predictability. If I wear the mask of the professor, you know how to treat me, you know the script. If I wear the mask of the good neighbor, we have a social contract. But if I have no mask, I am fluid, I am raw, I am unclassifiable.
And that leads to the line that I think unlocks the whole book. He says, thus I became a madman. But then he adds, I have found both freedom and safety in my madness.
Go on.
The safety from being understood.
Stop right there. That is profound. The safety from being understood.
It's completely counterintuitive. I mean, usually we think safety comes from being understood. We want our partners to understand us. We want our bosses to understand us. We want to be seen.
But Gibran argues the opposite. He says, those who understand us enslave something in us. And think about that. If you understand me, you have categorized me. You have put boundaries around my potential. You have decided who I am.
Oh, he's the intellectual one.
She's the emotional one, exactly. Once I'm understood, I am fixed in your mind. I am a butterfly pinned to a corkboard. You can admire me, but I can't fly.
So by being mad, by being incomprehensible to the people in the marketplace, the narrator is free from their expectations.
Exactly. He is safe because no one can pin him down. He is safe because he is outside the system of definition. If I cannot be defined, I cannot be controlled.
It connects to that theological concept of kenosis, doesn't it? The self-emptying.
Precisely. Kenosis is the Greek term for self-emptying. In Christian mysticism, and you see it in Zen too, it's about emptying oneself of the will of the ego in order to be filled with the divine. Here, the madman is emptied of identity. He has no social standing, no reputation to protect. He is a vacuum waiting to be filled by the sun. It's the dark night of the soul, but viewed as a liberation rather than a trial.
But he adds a little disclaimer at the end, which I appreciate. He says, "But let me not be too proud of my safety. Even a thief in a jail is safe from another thief."
Always the irony with Gibran. He acknowledges that isolation is its own kind of prison. He isn't selling a utopia, he's selling a trade-off.
Right.
You lose the comfort of belonging, but you gain the immediacy of truth.
You lose the warmth of the herd, but you gain the light of the sun.
That's a great way to put it.
Speaking of the light of the sun, once the masks are gone, the madman has to totally renegotiate his relationship with God. He can't relate to God through a mask anymore.
No. And this brings us to the poem simply titled God. This is a fascinating breakdown of how human beings have historically related to the divine. It feels like a timeline of theological evolution compressed into just a few stanzas.
It really does. It's a developmental model of the human soul. The narrator climbs the holy mountain 4 times, separated by thousands of years. Let's walk through these stages because they mirror our own history so perfectly.
Go ahead.
Stage 1. He climbs up and he says, "Master, I am thy slave. Thy hidden will is my law, and I shall obey thee forevermore."
This is the authoritarian God, the feudal lord, the God of the old law, the God of fear and trembling. The relationship is purely power-based. Do what I say or be destroyed.
And the result?
God made no answer, and like a mighty tempest passed away. Silence. God is not interested in a slave. A slave brings nothing to the master but obedience. There is no relationship there, only command.
So he waits 1,000 years, comes back. Stage 2, he goes back up the mountain. "Creator, I am thy creation. Out of clay hast thou fashioned me, and to thee I owe mine all."
This is the materialist view. Or maybe you could call it the deterministic view. You made me, I'm just a pot, you are the potter. It creates a distance. I am the object, you are the subject. I am the artifact, you are the artist. It's respectful, but it's cold.
And the result of that?
God made no answer, but like 1,000 swift wings passed away. Still no connection. The potter doesn't talk to the pot. The pot cannot understand the potter. There's a fundamental gap in their natures.
Another 1,000 years. Stage 3. "Father, I am thy son. In pity and love thou hast given me birth, and through love and worship I shall inherit thy kingdom."
Now we are in the familial framework. This echoes the Abrahamic traditions, specifically Christianity. It's warmer, for sure. It's about inheritance and hierarchy. But notice the transactional nature lurking in the background. I shall inherit.
Right. There's a payoff.
There's a payoff. It's still about what the human gets out of it. And it maintains the hierarchy. Father is above, son is below.
And the result?
God made no answer, and like the mist that veils the distant hills, he passed away. Even the father-son dynamic preserves a separation. There is a hierarchy of being that prevents total union.
So finally, the 4th time, the 4,000 years, he climbs up and says, "My God, my aim and my fulfillment, I am thy yesterday and thou art my tomorrow. I am thy root in the earth, and thou art my flower in the sky, and together we grow before the face of the sun."
And that is the key. I am thy root, thou art my flower.
And God answers.
Then God leaned over me and in my ears whispered words of sweetness. Why? Because the duality was dissolved. The narrator stopped looking at God as something external to worship or obey or inherit from and realized that God is a process in which he participates.
Together we grow. That is a radical theological shift from what came before.
It is. It argues that God is not a static king on a throne. God is the flowering of the human root. The divine needs the human to manifest just as the flower needs the root to exist. It's a symbiotic theology.
It's beautiful.
It rejects hierarchy for organic unity. This is very close to process theology or panentheism, the idea that God is becoming through the universe. We are the root system of God.
It changes the whole dynamic from pleasing a judge to nurturing a flower. But Gibran doesn't just leave us with this flower in the sky image. He also gives us a very funny, very cynical look at how we project our own morality onto God. We have to talk about the good God and the evil God.
Oh, this is a delight. It's a very short parable, but it cuts so deep. The good God and the evil God meet on a mountaintop, a summit meeting of the dualities.
The setup sounds like a joke. A good God and an evil God walk into a bar.
Essentially, yes. The good God says good day. The evil God doesn't answer. The good God asks why he's in such a bad mood. And the evil God says, "For of late I have been often mistaken for you, called by your name, and treated as if I were you, and it ill pleases me."
And the good God admits the same thing. I too have been mistaken for you. He's just as annoyed.
And the evil God just walks away, cursing the stupidity of man.
So what does this mean? That good and evil are the same thing? Or that we are just really bad at telling the difference?
I think Gibran is saying that good and evil are human labels. We stick onto cosmic forces that are just way beyond our comprehension. We call things good when they benefit us, sunshine, rain for crops, health.
Right.
We call things evil when they hurt us, hurricanes, disease, death. But to the absolute, to the gods themselves, they are just forces.
Like electricity. It's not good when it lights your house and evil when it shocks you.
Yeah.
It's just electricity.
Exactly. And the gods are annoyed that we keep mixing them up, projecting our little moral dramas onto their vast impersonal natures. It suggests that our moral compass is often just a projection of our own comfort.
It's the madman stripping away another mask,
Yeah.
the mask of moral certainty. He's saying that the universe is far more ambiguous than our binary ethics allow.
Mm-hmm.
So if the relationship with God is complex, the relationship with the self is a total mess. This is where I think Gibran was genuinely ahead of his time. We have the piece, The Seven Selves.
This is the internal parliament. The narrator is lying half asleep, and he hears his seven selves arguing. This is straight up internal family systems, or IFS theory, almost a century before Richard Schwartz formalized it in modern therapy.
It's incredible how specific he gets. Let's look at the roster here. We have the first self, the tormented self. Not to do but renew his pain. This is the part of us that holds trauma, that obsesses over past hurts.
Then the second self, the joyous self. I laugh his laughter. I would rebel against my weary existence. This is the seeker of pleasure, the hedonist, the one who wants more life.
The third self, the love-ridden self. He calls it a flaming brand of wild passion. The romantic.
The fourth self, the tempest-like self, hatred and destructive loathing, the part of us that wants to burn it all down.
The fifth self, the thinking, fanciful self, the hunger for the unknown, the intellectual, the dreamer. The sixth self, the working self, the laborer, fashion the days into images, the one who pays the bills, who builds things. They all want to rebel. They're all tired of being stuck in this one body, this madman. They're a cacophony of conflicting drives. I want to work, I want to love, I want to hate.
It's a civil war.
It is. But then the seventh self speaks.
The seventh self, this is the crucial one. He says, "How strange that you all would rebel, because each and every one of you has a preordained fate to fulfill. The joyous self must be joyous. The working self must work. They are machines.
They don't have a choice.
They're deterministic. But the seventh self," he says, "I have none. I am the do-nothing self, the one who sits in the dumb, empty nowhere and no-when while you are busy recreating life."
The do-nothing self. That sounds so negative to a Western ear. We value productivity. Being a do-nothing is an insult.
But in Eastern philosophy and in mysticism, this is the witness, the Sakshi in Vedanta. It is the consciousness that watches the anger, watches the joy, watches the work, but is not identified with any of them. It is the self with a capital S.
And the text says, the other six selves looked with pity upon him. They feel sorry for him because he doesn't do anything.
They fall asleep in submission, but the seventh self remains watching nothingness, which is behind all things. Gibran is telling us that the part of us that feels the most useless, the silent observer, is actually the only part that is connected to the eternal. The working self and the thinking self are just busy distractions. The do-nothing self is the gateway to reality.
It's haunting. It reframes the idea of boredom or stillness
Yeah.
as the highest state of being. And speaking of haunting, we have to talk about My Friend. This is perhaps the bleakest and most beautiful take on friendship I've ever read.
It challenges the very possibility of human connection. The narrator tells his friend, I am not what I seem. Seeming is but a garment.
He basically says, I'm lying to you constantly. When you say the wind blows east, I agree, but my mind is on the sea. When it's day for you, it's night for me.
It's the essential loneliness of the subjective experience. No matter how close we are, I can never truly show you my internal world. It's a refutation of the idea that empathy can bridge all gaps.
But then he says something that just stops me in my tracks. He says, when thou ascendest to thy heaven, I descend to my hell. And his friend calls out, my companion, wanting to help.
Right, the impulse to save.
But the narrator refuses to let the friend in. He says, I would not have thee see my hell, and I love my hell too well to have thee visit it. I would be in hell alone.
I love my hell too well. That challenges the entire Christian notion of confession, or the modern therapeutic notion that sharing is healing.
Why would he love his hell?
Because it is his. It is the most private, intense, and authentic part of his experience. To share it is to dilute it. To share it is to let the friend try to fix it or understand it. And remember,
understanding is slavery.
Exactly. He wants to keep his hell pure. It's a defense of the sanctity of suffering. It defines him more than his heaven does.
That is heavy. It suggests that our pain is a more reliable anchor for our identity than our joy.
Or that our pain is the one thing that is truly ours, that society cannot commodify or regulate. My joy can be marketed to me. My sorrow is mine alone.
Which is a perfect segue to how this madman views society. Because if he values intensity and authenticity, he absolutely hates hypocrisy and the sanitized version of life.
He detests it, and he exposes it with these brutal, unforgettable parables.
The most graphic one has to be the blessed city.
Yes. The traveler who goes to a city where everyone lives according to the scriptures.
And when he gets there, he expects paradise. But instead, he sees that everyone has only one eye and one hand.
And he is horrified. He asks, what happened? And they take him to the temple and show him a heap of withered hands and eyes drying in the sun.
They did it to themselves.
Because the scripture says, if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out. If thy right hand offend thee, cut it off.
They took the metaphor literally.
It is a savage critique of religious literalism and fundamentalism. The text argues that literal adherence to dogma leads to the mutilation of the self. These people are holy, but they are broken. They are half men. They have sacrificed their wholeness for righteousness.
And the kicker is the end. The traveler leaves. He says, I straightway left that blessed city, for I was not too young, and I could read the scripture.
He implies that maturity involves reading the text with the inner eye, not the literal eye. He refuses to maim himself for the sake of social or religious belonging. He chooses to be a sinner with two eyes rather than a saint with one.
But sometimes social belonging forces you to maim your mind, if not your body. This leads us to the wise king. This is my favorite story in the collection. It feels the most relevant to the 21st century.
It is a story about the social construction of reality. It's about gaslighting on a national scale.
So here's the setup. There's a city, Wirani, ruled by a wise king. A witch comes and poisons the well. She says, from this hour, he who drinks this water shall become mad.
And the next morning, everyone drinks, the whole population, except the king and his Lord Chamberlain, who have a private safe well.
So the whole city goes mad. But here is the mechanism that Gibran identifies, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Because everyone is mad, they think they're normal.
Right, the baseline has shifted.
And they look at the king, who is still sober, still objective, still seeing reality as it is, and they whisper, the king is mad.
Surely we cannot be ruled by a mad king. We must dethrone him.
This is the terrifying tyranny of the majority. The consensus reality has shifted. The truth is now the madness. The king is objectively right, but socially wrong.
So the king has a choice. Retain his sanity and lose his kingdom, and probably his life.
Or he orders the golden goblet filled from the poisoned well, and he drinks.
And he gives it to his chamberlain. And they drink deep.
And the people rejoice. The king has regained his reason.
It is a tragedy disguised as a resolution. The analysis here is crystal clear. Sanity is defined by the majority, not by objective truth. To rule or even to belong, you have to participate in the collective delusion.
It makes me think of social media bubbles, or corporate culture, or political parties. If you don't speak the language, if you don't believe the current narrative, you are the outcast. You are the madman.
And in this story, the king wasn't strong enough to be the madman. He chose power over truth. He chose connection over clarity. The narrator of the book, however, chooses the opposite. He chooses the truth, even if it means being an outcast. He refuses the cup.
There is another layer to this social critique in The Sleepwalkers.
The mother and daughter.
Right. They are sleepwalking in the garden. In their sleep, which is usually when we think people are unconscious, they are shouting at each other. The mother says, "You destroyed my youth. I wish you were dead."
And the daughter says, "You selfish old woman, you stand between me and my freer self."
They are speaking the raw, unfiltered truth of their resentment. The unconscious mind is venting. The sleepwalking state is actually their state of truth.
But then, at that moment, a cock crew and both women awoke.
And the mother says gently, "Is that you, darling?" And the daughter answers, "Yes, dear."
The civility returns instantly.
It's terrifying.
Gibran is saying that our waking life is actually a trance of politeness. We are only awake to our true feelings when we are asleep to society. The mask of civility is what keeps society from tearing itself apart, but it is built on a foundation of repression.
It's Freud again. Civilization and its discontents. We trade our instincts for security. We trade our hatred for yes, dear.
Precisely. And the madman, he's the one who screams in the garden while the sun is up.
So we've covered God, the self, and society. Now let's talk about how we know what we know. Epistemology. We need to visit the greater sea.
This is a beautiful vignette about the limitations of philosophy. The narrator and his soul go to the sea to bathe, to be naked, vulnerable, immersed in the absolute. The sea represents the infinite, the unknowable God.
But the beach is crowded.
It's crowded with philosophers, but look at what they're doing. They aren't swimming. They're treating the ocean as a problem to be solved, not an experience to be had.
No. There's the pessimist, and he's throwing salt into the sea.
Adding bitterness to the infinite, assuming the universe needs more tears. It's so arrogant, really.
And then there's the optimist, throwing sugar.
Trying to sweeten the ocean, which is just as absurd. The ocean is too big for your sugar. Your personal disposition doesn't change reality.
The philanthropist, picking up dead fish to save them.
Futile moralizing, trying to fix the natural cycle of life and death with small gestures that make him feel good but change nothing.
The mystic, tracing a shadow on the sand that the waves keep erasing.
He's obsessed with the symbol rather than the reality. He's looking at the shadow of the seagull, not the seagull.
The idealist, scooping foam into a bowl.
Trying to capture the essence, but getting only bubbles. You cannot take the ocean home in a bowl. You can't contain the infinite in your finite system.
And the realist, with his back to the sea, listening to a shell.
This is the sharpest cut of all. The realist thinks he is grounded, but he is ignoring the vast reality behind him to listen to a tiny fragment of an echo in a shell. He mistakes the map for the territory. He mistakes the report for the event.
And finally, the Puritan, burying his head in the sand.
Denial. Pure and simple. If I can't see the ocean, it doesn't exist.
So the narrator says, "We cannot bathe here."
I would not have this wind lift my golden hair, or let the light disclose my sacred nakedness. They leave to seek the greater sea.
The argument is that all these schools of thought, optimism, pessimism, realism, idealism, are just ways of trying to control or categorize the ocean. They are barriers to the direct experience.
Exactly. To truly bathe, you have to find a place where there are no labels. You have to leave the philosophers on the beach and jump in the water.
It connects back to the eye. Do you remember that one?
Oh, right. The sensory debate.
Yeah.
The eye says, I see a mountain. The ear listens and says, I hear nothing, there is no mountain. The hand tries to touch it and says, I feel nothing. The nose says, I smell nothing.
So they vote.
They conclude the eye is deluded. Something must be the matter with the eye.
It's the democracy of the senses overruling the visionary.
It is a critique of a certain kind of empiricism. Just because you cannot touch it or smell it or measure it with your tools doesn't mean the mountain isn't there. The madman is the eye in a world of noses and ears. He sees the spiritual reality that others deny because they lack the organ to perceive it. And because they outnumber him, they call him mad.
This brings us to the realm of ethics and paradoxes. Gibran loves to flip morality on its head. Let's start with the new pleasure.
An angel and a devil fighting on the doorstep.
Over a new pleasure the narrator invented. The angel cries, "It is a virtue." The devil cries, "It is a sin."
It shows the arbitrary nature of these labels. The pleasure itself is neutral. The struggle is between the external authorities trying to claim it. The angel wants it for his team, the devil for his. The experience itself belongs to neither.
And then we have war. This one hurts. It's about the absurdity of justice.
It's brutal. A thief tries to rob a weaver, falls in the dark, and pokes his eye out on the loom. He goes to the prince and demands justice. The weaver plucked out my eye.
The prince decrees the weaver's eye should be plucked out. It's eye for an eye logic. Simple clean.
But the weaver argues, I need both eyes to weave the cloth, but I have a neighbor, a cobbler, who has 2 eyes, and in his trade, both are not necessary.
And the prince says, okay. They fetch the cobbler and pluck out his eye.
And justice was satisfied.
It is chilling. It exposes the bureaucratic mechanism of retributive justice. The system demands an eye for an eye, quite literally. Doesn't care whose eye, really. It just needs the ledger to balance.
It treats humans as interchangeable parts in a machine of fairness. It is the opposite of true justice, which requires wisdom. This is purely mechanical. It's a critique of legalism that ignores human context. The cobbler is innocent, but he is spare parts for the system.
Finally, in this section on paradoxes, we have to talk about crucified.
This is really the theological climax of the text. The narrator asks to be crucified.
But not for the reasons Jesus was crucified. The crowd asks him, for what art thou seeking to atone?
And he says, I do not atone.
In what cause dost thou sacrifice thyself?
I do not sacrifice.
So why? Why ask for this horrible pain?
He says, I sought a door into larger days and nights.
We must be crucified by larger and yet larger men.
This shifts the crucifixion from a singular historical act of redemption for sin into a recurring, necessary evolutionary process for the soul. To grow, the small self must be killed. The crucifixion is the shattering of the container so the contents can expand. He wants the intensity of the experience. He wants to be stretched between greater earths and greater heavens.
So it's not about guilt. It's about growth.
It is the ultimate rejection of the safety we talked about in the beginning. He is asking for the ultimate danger crucifixion because it is the only way to break through to the next level of consciousness. You cannot grow if you are safe.
So let's zoom out. What does this all mean? The so what? Why should we care about a Madman written in 1918?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Gibran is bridging a massive gap. On one side, you have Nietzsche. The death of the old god, the rise of the individual, the destruction of slave morality. Gibran clearly read, thus spoke Zarathustra. The tone is very similar in places.
But Nietzsche can be cold, hard.
Yeah.
The Übermensch can be a bully. There's a harshness there.
Exactly. So Gibran brings in the Eastern mysticism, the Sufi tradition from his Lebanese heritage. The idea that while the external God may be dead, the internal God is waiting to be born. He takes the Übermensch and makes him a mystic.
The Madman is a spiritual Superman.
Yes. And the relevance today is staggering. We live in the blessed city. We live in a world of one-eyed literalism, whether it's political polarization where you must cut off your hand if it votes the wrong way, or religious fundamentalism that demands you mutilate your spirit.
And we definitely live in the city of the wise king. We are terrified of being the only sober person at the party. We drink the poisoned water of misinformation or pop culture just so we can talk to our neighbors.
And we are fragmented. The 7 selves is a reality for modern man. We are torn between our work, our desires, our thinking. And Gibran tells us, don't try to suppress them. Listen to the 7th self, the watcher. Find the silence behind the noise.
The final synthesis of this work seems to be, drop the mask, accept the madness. The madness is just the refusal to lie about who you are.
And seek a God that grows with you, not a God that rules over you. I am thy root, thou art my flower. It empowers the human. It makes us partners in the divine creation.
Okay, my brain is buzzing. This is the point in the deep dive where we take these concepts and push them off a cliff.
I am ready.
It's time for thought experiments.
And disclaimer time. The following scenarios are for educational and entertainment purposes only. Do not actually drink poisoned water or pluck out anyone's eyes.
Experiment number 1, the Urani Protocol. This is inspired, of course, by the wise king.
Lay it on me.
Imagine a near-future society. We have developed a neural link, or a water additive. Let's call it Soma 2.0. It eliminates existential dread. It removes anxiety. It makes everyone agreeable, collaborative, and happy.
Sounds pretty good so far. A world without suffering.
The catch is it alters logic.
Yeah.
You see the world through a filter of narrative harmony rather than objective truth. If a fact is upsetting or inconvenient, the filter just edits it out, and 99% of the population takes it.
So they're all in the same delusion, but it's a pleasant one. They are happy, they function.
You are the 1%. You remain sober. You see the cracks in the pavement. You see the logical fallacies in the news. You see the suffering that the filter hides. But to everyone else, you are the glitch. You are the madman. You are clinically diagnosed as reality maladjusted.
The question is, do you drink the cup?
Yes. Is objective truth valuable if it isolates you completely from the human species? At what point does sanity become a disability? If the definition of human shifts to the connected filtered, are you even human anymore if you refuse?
That is the wise king dilemma amplified by technology. It's a horrible choice. If I refuse, I am alone. I cannot connect with my wife, my children, my friends, because we are living in fundamentally different realities. I see a rotting corpse. They see a sleeping angel. How can we even have a conversation? I think Gibran would say, you do not drink, you retreat to the mountains, you preserve the seed of truth. But the modern pressure, it would be unbearable. I think most of us, if we are truly honest, would drink the golden goblet just to be able to talk to our children, to hold a job, to be loved. We would sacrifice truth for love.
It's the choice between truth and belonging. And Gibran says truth is worth the madness. But that is a hard sell on a Tuesday morning.
Indeed.
Terrifying. Okay, experiment number 2. The 7 selves governance model.
Applying the psychology to politics, I like it.
Exactly. Imagine a political system, or maybe an AI governance architecture, that is explicitly modeled on Gibran's 7 internal voices.
Go on.
Instead of a president or prime minister, the executive branch is a council of 7 AI subpersonalities. You've got the tormented, which focuses on risk and past failures. The risk management profile.
Okay.
The joyous, focusing on culture, arts, public well-being. The lover, focusing on social cohesion and welfare. The hater, which is essentially the Defense Department aggression, boundaries, war.
Right.
The thinker, science, R&D, long-term strategy. The worker, economy, infrastructure, labor. And of course, the do nothing.
And how do they rule? Do they vote?
To debate.
Yeah.
Publicly. We see the hater argue with the lover about foreign policy. But here's the twist. The 7th self, the do-nothing observer, has veto power. It cannot propose legislation. It cannot act. It can only say no if the action violates the fundamental nature of the state, or if it's just a bad idea born of haste.
That is fascinating. We usually try to pretend our government is united. We speak with one voice. But we know it's actually fragmented. This model would acknowledge the fragmentation. It would give the hater a legitimate seat at the table, acknowledging that aggression is a necessary part of survival, but checking it with the observer.
Would it lead to a more balanced society? Or would the hater and lover just tear the system apart without the mask of a unified leader?
I think Gibran would love it because it's honest. It admits that the state is a madman with many voices. And maybe, just maybe, the do-nothing observer would save us from our own busyness. We have plenty of working selves in politicians who feel they must pass laws just to be seen doing something. We have very few do-nothing observers who say, wait, watch, don't act yet.
A government that values doing nothing as a check on power. Now that is a madness I could get behind.
Indeed. It might be the only sane way to govern.
We'll leave you with this final image from the text. Gibran writes about a scarecrow. The narrator asks him, "You must be tired of standing in this lonely field."
And the scarecrow says, "The joy of scaring is a deep and lasting one, and I never tire of it."
And the narrator says, "I too have known that joy."
And the scarecrow replies, "Only those who are stuffed with straw can know it."
That line gives me chills. Are our social roles merely straw stuffing that prevents us from being bored? Are we scaring people, posturing, arguing, asserting dominance just to feel something? Just to prove we exist?
A question for the road. If you take out the straw, are you still scary? Or are you just nothing?
The link to the text is in the bio. Read it. Let it strip your masks, let it hurt you a little, until the next treatise.